Imagine a scene. The majestic Buckingham Palace is once again alive, filled with its usual bustle and long-awaited warmth. Princess Anne, after a brief hospitalization, has returned to her chambers. This event is undoubtedly a source of genuine joy, not only for her immediate family, but also for the entire British nation, which follows the fate of the monarchy with keen interest. However, trailing this bright moment like an invisible shadow is a sense of unease and bewilderment, and Camilla embodies this shadow. Her presence and demeanor once again threaten to destabilize the already fragile foundations of the royal court. When the news of Princess Anne's full recovery finally reached the public, many faces showed sincere relief. This unyielding and resilient woman had regained her strength, demonstrating unwavering determination. But where were Prince Charles and Camilla during this pivotal family moment? Their conspicuous indifference, bordering on neglect, did not go unnoticed, sparking a wave of questions and condemnation. Princess Anne received genuine care and warmth only from those closest to her. Her loving daughter Zara Tyndall, her devoted husband Tim Lawrence, and her caring son Peter Phillips. Camilla, with her cold detachment, seemed to deliberately distance herself from the events, completely ignoring this crucial period for the family. Looking at their history, it's impossible not to notice how strained the relationship between Camilla and Anne has always been. Even after many years since Camilla's so-called intrusion into the royal family's life, this tension has not only failed to subside, but has, on the contrary, intensified. No protocol smiles or social pleasantries can conceal this. Deep and impenetrable icy barrier. Princess Anne's body language speaks volumes about her true feelings. She meticulously avoids Camilla, as if the latter carries a destructive force capable of unleashing a storm that sweeps everything in its path. These agonizingly awkward and painful scenes at numerous official events, where Anne tries to distance herself as much as possible, and Camilla, hiding her internal discomfort behind a forced smile, attempts to create the illusion of a happy and united family, are becoming increasingly evident and frequent. Camilla, like a black sheep among a colorful flock, has never managed to win the genuine affection of those who have always seen her as an unwelcome outsider. Over the years, her persistent but futile efforts have not yielded the desired result. Mutual understanding and true respect have failed to find their way into the heart of the royal family. The history of the relationship between these two prominent women, whose paths crossed long before Charles and Camilla tied the knot, only exacerbates an already difficult situation. It is known that Princess Anne was once romantically involved with Andrew Parker Bowles, who later became Camilla's first husband. This fact adds another intriguing and complex layer to their current strained interactions, setting the stage for hidden rivalry. Camilla, for her part, makes noticeable efforts to gain respect and recognition within the royal family and the public at large. However, as is often the case, her endeavors frequently prove futile or, at the very least, do not yield the desired outcome. For Princess Anne, Camilla seems to remain an unwelcome, even burdensome, addition to the royal household, an impression that has persisted many years after her marriage to the future king. At numerous official engagements where they are obliged to appear together, the easily discernible emotions on Anne's face eloquently suggest that Camilla continues to be a dark horse for her, whose role and true motives remain questionable. Some experts closely monitoring the monarchy tend to believe that Camilla, despite all her obvious efforts, will always be perceived as a figure whose presence in the royal family was more a forced step than an organic integration. Princess Anne, in turn, demonstrates a commendable desire to maintain her dignity, doing everything in her power to avoid entanglement in this unspoken battle for approval and recognition that, in the opinion of many, has unfolded between them. It is worth recalling that Princess Anne was recently hospitalized after an unfortunate incident involving a horse. As a result, she sustained a head injury, concussion, and most disturbingly, temporary memory loss. The princess herself could not recall any details of what happened to her. At present, Princess Anne continues her journey towards a full recovery. It can be confidently assumed that she had no desire to linger in the hospital longer than absolutely necessary. The medical staff who provided care and monitored the princess during her stay at the clinic noted her continuous eagerness to get up and return home as soon as possible. It was only through the persistent persuasion of her family members that the princess was convinced to follow all doctors' recommendations and remain in the hospital for as long as needed for her health. Nevertheless, just one day after her hospitalization, Princess Anne was already home. This fact is compelling evidence of a significant improvement in her health. Had her well-being or prognosis for recovery remained under serious threat, the medical institution's staff would undoubtedly have insisted on a longer stay under specialist observation. The palace confirmed the princess's discharge, but official representatives emphasized that it is still too early to discuss her return to her numerous royal duties. She will return to her duties in the foreseeable future, palace representatives reported, aiming to reassure the public. Most likely this will only happen once her treating physicians give her full permission to resume active duties, having ensured her complete recovery. One aspect that surprised many was that, although Princess Anne was visited by her daughter and husband for 3 days, her discharge from the medical facility went completely unnoticed by the wider public. Former royal correspondent Michael Coles suggested that Princess Anne deliberately avoided being caught by cameras as she left the hospital accompanied by her husband, Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence. This is understandable. She likely had visible signs of her injuries, such as bruises on her face or body, and naturally did not wish to display them publicly. However, there is a possibility that this is not the case. And while Buckingham Palace continues to insist on Princess Anne's swift return to her duties, a legitimate question arises. Will she ever feel comfortable in Camilla's immediate vicinity? This question remains unanswered. We will continue our narrative. Initially, it might have seemed that Camilla and Anne even had a friendly relationship, but impartial facts indicate a completely different picture. Princess Anne and Queen Camilla became related by marriage when Camilla decided to marry Anne's elder brother, Prince Charles, in 2005. The truth is that this relationship was marred by a palpable coldness and mutual distrust from the very beginning. Let us again turn to the opinion of body language expert Judy James. She asserts that photographs taken during Charles and Camilla's wedding ceremony eloquently reveal Anne's true feelings, as well as those of her parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, towards the new daughter-in-law. It is clear that they were not particularly thrilled about her arrival in the royal family. During the official photo shoot that followed the marriage, the Queen and Philip demonstratively stood with their backs to the newlyweds, thereby preventing any genuinely joyful family photographs from being taken. This gesture clearly conveyed dissatisfaction and even icy indifference on the part of Princess Anne, James commented. Such behavior persisted thereafter, as evidenced by a photograph dated June 2005, when Camilla had already been part of the royal family for 2 months. The expert asserts that Princess Anne purposefully sought to erect an impenetrable barrier between herself and Camilla. In the photograph, Princess Anne clearly demonstrates dislike. She stands closer to Charles, effectively pushing Camilla out of the group. Even her elbow serves as a gesture of rejection. There isn't the slightest hint of joy in their gazes, only a shadow of somber reflection, James added. Camilla moved forward, offering the cameras a nervous smile while Anne followed, maintaining absolute composure. It wasn't just the marriage to Charles that caused tension. Anne resented not only Camilla's presence, but also her past, linked to her former husband. However, instead of showing embarrassment or displeasure, Princess Anne chose to display cold indifference towards Camilla, much like her mother did. Despite all the twists and turns, by 2007, the relationship between the two women, though slightly, did improve. They were seen together at various events, where they sometimes even laughed. Nevertheless, these were merely forced smiles and obligatory interactions. As by this time, James claims, Camilla was actively striving to prove her worth within the royal family. Although to many she appeared to be nothing more than a diligent workhorse, persistently trying to occupy a place she might never fully conquer or secure for herself. However, everything changed abruptly on Commonwealth Day this year, vividly demonstrating that Princess Anne had not forgotten old grievances and animosities. A lavish and solemn ceremony for Commonwealth Day took place at Westminster Abbey, led by Queen Camilla and Prince William. they were joined by Princess Anne, as well as the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, promptly recalled her royal manners, performing an elegant curtsy to Queen Camilla after a quick kiss on the cheek from Her Majesty. Sophie demonstrated her readiness to strictly adhere to traditions. It was noticeable how she quickly bowed and then stepped aside, making way for her husband, Prince Edward, to greet Camilla at the service in Westminster Abbey. Princess Anne approached next, but unlike Sophie, she merely kissed Camilla on the cheek, not bothering to perform a curtsy, conspicuously ignoring the royal protocol that dictates bowing before the sovereign and his consort. The royal family did decide to somewhat relax formalities after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, for example, at events like Christmas concerts, where Charles and Kate were present. However, Princess Anne has never curtsied to Camilla at public events, indicating a long-standing and consistent stance. In 2005, when Camilla officially married Prince Charles, taking her place as the wife of the heir to the throne, a revision of traditional curtsying protocols became necessary. According to the new guidelines, women who entered the royal family through marriage, such as Sophie, Countess of Wessex, were required to show deference to Camilla by curtsying to her. However, for princesses born into the royal dynasty, there was a specific, more flexible option for observing these rules. Thus, if Camilla appeared in public alongside Prince Charles, Princesses Anne, Beatrice, and Eugenie traditionally curtsied to her. In cases where Camilla was without her husband, she in turn was expected to curtsy to these princesses, emphasizing the complex hierarchy within the monarchical family. With Charles's ascension to the throne and his coronation as King Charles III, Camilla, having become queen consort, naturally outranked Princess Anne. This change implied that Anne should now show her formal deference. Nevertheless, contrary to expectations and new directives, no public displays of curtsying by Princess Anne towards Camilla have been recorded, even after Charles III took the throne, which inevitably raised certain questions and discussions among those closely following court etiquette. Only the passage of time can truly reveal whether genuine peace and harmony will ever reign within these ancient walls, where behind the dazzling splendor and outward magnificence of palace life often lie deep shadows of coldness and carefully guarded antipathies. However, one circumstance remains constant and evident to many observers. The image of Camilla, perceived as possessing a cold heart and harboring hidden animosity, continues to cast a noticeable shadow on the shining crown of the British monarchy, prompting questions and discussions about her true role and influence.